this afternoon, we have Cory Hendrickson and Diana Anderson of BluSky Restoration Contractors joining us to help us understand, learn, and to not be afraid of some of the things that are coming up with us going back into the offices. We are so thankful that you are here to join us today to help educate us. Diana?
Thanks, Deb. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Great. So we appreciate the opportunity. Cory Hendrickson is the expert for us, and I appreciate you inviting us to be a part of it. Cory, is there any background that you'd like to share of your experience before we get started?
Yeah, I've been in the restoration industry for, well, almost my whole life, and I did it in high school too, but professionally, I'd say, I think about 6 years now. I've got designations from the IRCRC and water remediation, applied structural drying, commercial drying, applied microbial remediation. I also have a viral and microbial disinfection certification through the TOMI Service Network. And unrelated, I am a HAG certified commercial roofing inspector. So a little bit of background on it.
Great.
So I guess I'll go ahead and get started.
Uh-oh, his thing froze.
I saw that. Darn.
I wonder if he's still out there.
Diana, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at the company? Oh, I see another screen coming up.
Yeah, and let me see if he, so I work with companies, property management companies, and then companies to set up plans for them to be able to have disaster planning ahead of time. You know, when things happen, you don't want to have to just knee-jerk respond. So we come in and set up a plan and try to have everything, you know, how am I going to do this? How am I going to react? What am I going to do? You have the water problems, or you have fire, you know, obviously that's the worst case scenario. And in this case, our environmental division with COVID, you know, setting up plans for these companies, what to do, how to handle it. So that's really my job, is to help set that up and then get our experts involved in that. Let me see if Cory is trying to call back in. I don't know if he knows that he's not on. I don't think he knows he's not on.
I sent him a private message saying that we couldn't hear him, but I haven't seen him try to pop back in yet.
I can see him on the gallery view, and it looks like he's trying to connect.
You know, this is just part of the world that we live in right now.
Yeah.
And I think people have gained some more patience because there's only so much that we can control.
Right.
So,
he's trying to visit with us about it.
yeah.
I can see him trying to connect. Let's see if we can get him to come up on there. I'm not sure. And we've not had any issues with this before, so we did have some people that were freezing screens though the other night. I think that more on the internet part of it, but
So, internet is definitely being tested.
for sure.
Okay, so
now he's muted. If he can get unmuted. Okay, are you there, Cory?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm so sorry. I have no idea what happened. So.
Uh-oh. Somebody muted him.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. The administrative part of this, this webinar content is based off of current information from the CDC, the National Institute of Health, Department of Health and Human Services, so on and so forth. But that being said, information on this is changing often. So, but this is really good guidelines in order to be able to start with. This webinar should not be viewed as a definitive source of information on this, as again, it is changing daily, but it's good to have these disinfection protocols and these safety protocols in place. And I encourage all participants to discuss any policies or protocols or changes in business with internal and external stakeholders, just whoever concerned. Find out what would actually be the best fit for you. Take this information and tailor it to your particular business and a situation. So, as I spoke about earlier, here are my certifications. Been in the business for about 6 years now professionally. A quick outline of what we're going to go over, just an overview of how COVID-19 spreads, some personal care items, disinfecting your workspace, and then what to do if you have a known case of COVID-19 in your space. And then maybe a quick Q&A at the end, if my computer will work, right? As we all pretty probably well know, as it's been kind of hammered into our brains lately, COVID-19 spreads to respiratory droplets, most of the time through coughing and sneezing, and the quickest way of getting that is being within close contact of an infected person. There is asymptomatic spread, which means that the virus is shedding. People are infectious when they're not showing symptoms. It is possibly through surface contamination as well. If those respiratory droplets are getting on a surface, it is postulated that you are able to receive the infection that way. There is no current evidence of any COVID-19 spread through food, which is good to know. This webinar is kind of based off of some good practices to disinfect your workplace, but the most important thing and the thing that will help control the virus spread the most is for individual and personal care. Some quick tips here: maintain 6-foot distance whenever possible. It's not always in every situation will that be possible. Of course, we understand that. Keep your hands away from your face as much as possible, and try to wear a face mask whenever possible. Unless you're wearing a respirator, it's not to keep you from getting the virus. It's to, if you have the virus, like we talked about earlier, asymptomatic spread, it will help prevent you from possibly spreading it. Sneeze and cough into your elbow. Do one of these. That way it's not on your hands and touching everything. Wash your hands often, right? You've heard that. It's been around for a while. You're supposed to wash your hands often anyway, but wash your hands more now. And of course, use common sense. Try your best to avoid large gatherings. Try your best to walk around people. Try your best to maybe open a door with the elbow or your butt. Just be wary and be aware. So it's definitely ways to help prevent the spread. The hand hygiene, washing your hands. Again, we all know it for a while, right? We've all heard how to do it for a while, but a quick rundown. Wet your hands with clean water. Doesn't matter warm or hot, or warm or cold. I prefer warm. Lather your hands with all the soap. Lather between your hands, fingers, back to your hands, under your nails. Then scrub for about 20 seconds. Good way of timing that. Hum Happy Birthday twice, or maybe figure out where your favorite verse of your favorite song is. Try to count 20 seconds in there and then just memorize that one. I'm not doing that, but maybe you will. And then dry your hands using a clean towel or air dry them. Treating your workspace. Here's what you should do. Normal routine, cleaning with soap and water will decrease how much virus is on the surfaces, and it would reduce the risk of exposure. So there's a difference between clean and disinfect. Clean just means to lower the dirt, grime, germs, lower the amount of it on a surface. To disinfect would be to actually kill or render inert. I say render inert because viruses technically aren't alive. Disinfection, using EPA-approved disinfectants against COVID helps reduce the risk. Frequent disinfection, of course, helps reduce it more. The EPA has a list. I can see how, well, I don't know if I want to pull it up now because it's
we've had computer problems at the beginning, so I won't do it. But they currently have a 27-page long approved list of disinfectants that are appropriate and have proven effective against COVID-19. On that list, it goes over contact time, what instructions to follow, because certain products, maybe they'll kill the flu in 30 seconds, but they'll kill the feline coronavirus in 10 minutes. So it does on this list which virus to follow the procedures for, because it won't say specifically how to kill COVID-19. And of course, if you don't have any of those available, you can mix your own bleach and water, 1/3 cup of bleach per gallon of water, or you can use a 70% alcohol solution. If you are going the alcohol solution route, it is recommended that you do try to mix in some aloe vera gel, because alcohol dries your hands out a lot. Go over that in the next part. Okay, so creating and maintaining a clean workspace. This is the meat and potatoes of it. Your first step, as I talked about earlier, is personal care, of course. So maybe one of your first steps is to screen employees before they start for the day. Maybe ask everyone questions when you're starting off the day. Does anybody have any of these symptoms? Anybody running a fever? Some people are even using those little trigger laser thermometers to see if anybody is running a fever. Identify your workspace. So identify the space that actually needs to be cleaned. The CDC doesn't recommend disinfecting and cleaning every single surface in your building, because that would be inappropriate use of your time. If you're wiping anything down below 1 foot, that seems unnecessary. People are not touching things below 1 foot or 2 feet even very often, unless maybe you're in a child care space, a memory care space, or you again tailor these things to your business. You know where people are touching often, so you know where you should be cleaning often. Maybe if you have a store that has sample items where people are going to take them off and touch things, or clean those items down, but maybe don't have to clean every single shelf in your entire space, because people are not running their hands over those things. Or maybe in a restaurant, as soon as a person gets up from a table, clean that entire space, because people's hands are going to be touching those individual tables often. Now, when you're ready to actually do your cleaning, put on gloves. I do recommend putting on at least nitrile gloves. And depending on the disinfecting system you're using, wear the necessary PPE. And we will talk about the disinfectant systems and how to find that later in the slide. Next, you're going to clean and disinfect high to low. Again, the difference between clean and disinfect: clean is just reducing the soil level or the grime or dust on a surface, and disinfecting is actually rendering the virus inert. So if you have a recently cleaned space, maybe don't have to wipe it down with soap and water first. You can just go over it with a disinfectant. But if you haven't been in your space for the last three weeks, 2 months, however long, then you might want to reduce the level of dirt and grime first with a quick wipe down with soap and water, and then use your disinfectant. And you do it from low to high. The reason why is, as you're wiping off your surfaces up at 5 feet, stuff will likely travel down. If you start in your lower sections, then as you clean up, stuff is going to come back down, and then what you just wiped down up top there is impacting your lower spaces. And some different tips: make sure you have your proper ventilation when you're using your different disinfectants. Certain bleaches and stuff like that require certain or you got bleaches, ammonia-based ones, hydrogen peroxide-based ones. There's a whole bunch of different disinfectants out there, and different ones will require different ventilations, different PPEs to use. Always follow the directions. It's very important to be safe. When you got soft goods, such as chairs, tables, couches, you can wipe it down with soap and water first. Something to always test, including on your disinfectants and cleaners, is always go over a test spot to make sure that it's not going to cause any discoloration or anything negative to happen to the content or item you're wiping down. If you're using bleach on cloth, you might be staining that bleach, or you might be staining that cloth. So always do a small little test spot before you actually go in and spray everything down and wipe everything down. Wash your soft goods off with soap and water first. If possible, launder those items. Launder your soft goods if possible. And if not, then you can spray, again, a disinfectant on those. Electronics are a more difficult one. I recommend, and the CDC recommends, installing plastic covers on difficult to clean items such as electronics that and/or follow manufacturer's instructions. Often manufacturers will have instructions on how to clean those items. But plastic covers are, especially for keyboards, those are very difficult to clean, but are, I touch mine all the time. So install plastic covers if at all possible. And if not, then alcohol-based cleaners and disinfectants are the most effective because those evaporate quickly and leave behind very little moisture. But again, if at all possible, follow the manufacturer's specifications and then try to dry it as quickly as possible on your electronics. Here's an item not very much spoken about: reduce the clutter. That way you have, the less you have to disinfect, the better. The less that could get impacted and spread, the better. We're going to be cleaning a lot over the next couple months, right? So if the less we have to clean, the less chance we have to miss something to clean. So that's, try to reduce your clutter. Set up barriers and try to have your own workspace. We've all seen those plastic guards that people are putting up. So if possible, of course, contain your workspace. Cubicles are a good example, the ones that have those little walls up. So those are a good thing to do. And try to, maybe like in a restaurant, try to have a server maintain a certain area, a certain quarter of the spots or something like that. That way, if eventually you do find out that they are impacted, you know that they have hopefully not has impacted the rest of your staff that much. I know right now we're feeling all a little bit isolated, and that might continue that a little bit, but it would definitely help you in controlling the spread of the infection if people had their own individual workspaces. Not always possible, just try to as much as possible. Then set up and adhere to your cleaning routine. Maybe do it twice a day, 3 times a day, just depending on how often people are there and touching things or breathing on things. Restaurants probably have to do their table more than once a day. Shop owners, maybe not as often. Maybe you do one middle of the day, one at the end of the day, and you wouldn't have to do one at the beginning of the day that way because you just did one at the end of the day. So you're good there. But again, set up and adhere to your cleaning routine. That is important. That will help reduce the spread. So that's kind of a little bit there. Here's another example to where I was going to click on a slide, but I don't think that's safe to do still, so I'm not going to. But more or less, when picking out your disinfectant, there will be a spot on your disinfectant that tells you how to use it appropriately. I like to use Disinfect. This is my favorite thing to use. It's hard to come by at the moment for non-restoration or cleaning companies. It's an all-natural disinfectant. It's an active ingredient thymol, which is actually thyme extract, the herb. So it's all natural. You don't have to wear any PPE. It's non-corrosive. It's less caustic than vinegar, but it's a good one to use. But on it, it says in order to render it effective as a disinfectant or a viricide, it has to stay. You wipe it on or spray it on and leave it there for 10 minutes. There's no wiping, nothing you have to do afterwards. But again, it is important to follow those instructions. Some disinfectants will leave a residue behind. Some of them will say you have to do a post wipe. Some of them, depending. Very few disinfectants actually have a long-term disinfecting capability, such as if they have titanium dioxide, or there's some science behind silver ionides as long-term disinfectants where you apply it. It leaves an almost invisible coat. And it has a little bit longer term disinfectants. Not very many people use them because they're very expensive. And then also hospitals and some places use UV rays as disinfectants. And I've seen some new technology come out recently that has a constant chain reaction combustion of hydrogen peroxide and extremely low percentages. Sorry, I'm nerding out on disinfection stuff. So again, follow your disinfection instructions. That is very important. So if you have a known case of COVID in your workplace, we recommend hiring cleaner or a restoration contractor or someone to come in and actually take care of it for you, to put you at to reduce your risk of becoming exposed, and also to reopen in a quicker amount of time. It's a bit more of a stringent cleaning policy than just wiping down your horizontal surfaces, but it's pretty much, we go in personally, we use ULV foggers, fully spray all the surfaces. Some people are using electrostatic sprayers. I like ULV foggers a bit better. They put a more fine mist out that fully engulfs the space. I don't know if you guys have ever used a pump sprayer, but pump sprayers come out in large droplets, and they're not fully engulfing. The ULV fogger, you spray it and it fully engulfs. It comes out to 5 micron with mist. To give you an idea of how small that is, the virus itself is 0.125 microns. So it's a very, very fine mist, fully engulfing. Then it's wiping off all of the surfaces, all the exposed surfaces, including the tops of doors and stuff like that, with microfiber cloths, the windows with microfiber cloths, and doing another touch over your high touch points. Bathrooms, just the same. When you're doing these, it's also best to start in the far corner away from where you're going to exit and come back towards your exit when you're doing it. And then, of course, you should dispose of your debris and stuff you use in an appropriate manner. When we are doing these known COVID cleans, that's another reason why I recommend bringing a professional in to do it. You have to fully use protective equipment, a full Tyvek suit, nitrile gloves, rubber boots, the whole shebang. And there's an appropriate way of donning and putting that on. It's the same thing all the healthcare people are using. Start with your Tyvek suit, rubber boots, respirator, eye protection, Tyvek suit and nitrile gloves. Then we're even taping the connections between our suit and our gloves to make sure it's not coming in. And then there's even a smart way of taking it off, so you're never impacted by it. And it comes all the way down to doing the gloves appropriately. You got 2 gloves on, you pinch the bottom like this, pull it up, and then you slide the other hand underneath there like this to never touch the outside. That's the goal, is to never touch the outside of the items that you've just put on, because they might have been impacted. Going into respirators. Respirators, again, those are not the normal masks. Respirators are meant to filter out, not just keep you from spreading. If you are requiring any of your employees to wear a respirator, which is highly unlikely in most cases, but they are supposed to get a fit test. A fit test is more or less, you got somebody certified come out. My very bad beard, it's not very full, I could probably get away with it, but your fit test is to make sure you have a secure fitting around your nose and your mouth. So you're gonna put your hand against the outlet, breathe out, and make sure you don't have any gaps in your seal. And then here's the disposal process. You're even supposed to wipe down the bags, wipe down everything that you're using. Again, this is only in a known COVID space. It's just some information for you guys to have and tell you that it's likely best to hire a professional to clean that spot. That's kind of the gist of my presentation. So I'm opening up for questions, and I'll try my best to answer.
I couldn't get unmuted there. Thank you. I think one of the questions I might have is, where is a small business going to get some of the cleaning supplies that they're going to need to be able to clean their offices?
Of course. So right now there are still, if you look at that 27-page thing from the CDC, it has a whole host of items on there. Even scrubbing bubbles for your toilet is an effective cleaner. And this is not a very sturdy virus. It's a fully enveloped virus. So it has a thin layer of lipid or fat on the exterior, and they're not the hardiest of virus. So a lot of disinfectants are good for it. And again, just your standard bleach, mix 1/3 cup with a gallon of water. But there's a whole lot of Home Depots, Menards, Lowe's, Walmarts. They do have disinfectants. You might have a hard time finding the disinfectant wipes, but the disinfectants themselves, those are good.
So another question, how long does this virus live on a surface?
So they've done some tests, and it depends on the surface. If you have it on copper, It's only been shown to live for somewhere up to 8 hours. If it's on cardboard, about 24 hours, and on stainless steel, about 72 hours. But that's just how long they found viable virus there. What I've been reading, and the CDC is saying that it has a half-life, so over a certain period of time, depending on the surface, it has different levels of viable virus on it. Too bad everything's not made of copper or silver, huh? But yeah, the longest that the CDC or anybody currently says that they have found viable virus is about 72 hours.
Cory, a lot of people have debated the issue of wearing gloves. I see people wearing going into the grocery store wearing gloves, and I've heard you don't want to wear gloves. What's your take on that?
So, wearing a glove all the time is no different than you wearing your hands all the time, right? So if you're walking around and you're still touching your face with gloves, then you're touching things that possibly have the coronavirus and put it on your face. It's not currently believed that the coronavirus comes in through your skin. There's no information on that at all. It's, again, believed to come through respiratory droplets. And when you're touching something and you're putting it to your mouth, your eyes, and or breathing it in. So it's not recommended from the CDC, nor me, although CDC supersedes me by a little bit, just barely, to wear gloves, because it is of no extra use. Wear it while you're cleaning, and only while you're doing those individual cleanings, or if you cleaning's the best way to go. That's what the CDC recommends, is putting on gloves before you clean. So.
The other thing, there is so much information out there right now. We're just getting bombarded with ideas and probably some myths. So are there any myths out there that we need to debunk and talk about that we really don't need to be doing?
Well, I've read one that garlic helps get rid of it, and I think we can all believe that we saw how it impacted Italy, so we know garlic's not impactful. But no, there's a lot of stuff out there that says there's a homeopathic cure and all this stuff. Really, the best sources are the CDC, the National Institute of Health. That just go over, maintain your 6 foot of distance as much as possible, wear a mask. Again, the mask is not to protect you from getting it, it's to protect you from possibly passing it. They've said that if you put on a mask, it reduces the rate of you possibly infecting another person by 95%. And if that person also has a mask on, then that reduces their possibility of spreading it to another person 95%. So if everyone's wearing a mask, it only gives you a 5% chance of spreading the virus around. So, and if everyone's wearing a mask, it reduces it infinitely more. So that's important to do. Maintain those hygiene ideas. Wash your hands often. Don't touch your face. And really, everything else is just white noise. And you should just take it as white noise. Follow your cleaning procedures. Follow your disinfection stuff, and that should help everybody else and help flatten the curve, or hopefully help give it a precipitous drop.
Well,
I do not know a whole bunch of debunks, a whole bunch of myths about it, because I try my best to avoid those at all possible, right?
Yeah. We are very eager to get all of our businesses back into their offices and back working at full strength. So this has all been really good information. We're thankful that so many people have been able to work from their homes, but I know there are so many businesses out there that really need to be back in their locations. So I think what you've said today has been of great interest and help to us. Are there any final thoughts that you have that you want to end on?
I'm excited to start going back to those businesses, I'll tell you that. So I am excited to start to see places opening up. And everybody be healthy, everybody be safe, and really appreciate your time today, and thanks for inviting us on.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Diana, thank you. We really appreciate you guys taking your time and expertise to come and join us today. I think we have a gift certificate that we're going to draw for, donated by BluSky, with everything that's going on and needing cleaning supplies. Diana is giving a $50, is that right, Diana?
The Home Depot.
Home Depot. So Kelsey, would you be able to draw a name of the participants on today's webinar?
Yes, I could do that. I have everybody's name written down. And
Well,
okay,
she's
the
doing
winner
that
is
too.
Mallory.
Awesome. Mallory
Congrats.
Lauer with Advent Health. That's great.
Excited.
Thank you all for joining us. And then I'm going to ask you, if each and every one of you that are here today, if you'll share this out on your social media, I think we need to help educate as many people and businesses as possible, because this was really good information today. That's how we're going to make a difference and help. So share away, please. Again, thank you, BluSky, for being here.
Thanks, Deb.
Of course,
Thanks,
thanks for
Cory.
inviting us.